Askwasani Tomaquag, and welcome back for another episode of Tomaquag Museum's Children's Hour. So I got an email this week saying that I never remembered to introduce myself at the beginning of these programs. So today I'm going to do that first thing. My name is Silvermoon LaRose, and I'm a member of the Narragansett tribe here in Rhode Island. I work at the Tomaquag Museum as the assistant director, but I'm also one of the educators there. So if you come to the museum, you might see me giving a tour, you might find me teaching an art workshop, or maybe you're there to see me for a children's hour program, just like this one here. I really love all the things I get to do at the museum, and I hope that you get to come visit us at the museum one day and I get to meet you in person. So today's program, we are honoring all of the Native men and women who serve in the military. And these are our warriors. They're people who have dedicated their lives and chosen as their careers and goals to work to protect our country and protect the community and protect the United States. Let me see if I can share my screen. And show you this presentation. Now, the Narragansett word for warrior is anawáyean. That's pronounced anawáyean. And there's a really great article that I highly recommend you read that talks about what does it mean to be a warrior. And Sitting Bull, who was Hunkpapa Lakota, he said, "The warrior for us is one who sacrifices himself for the good of others. His task is to take care of the elderly, the defenseless, those who cannot provide for themselves, and above all, the children, the future of humanity." I think that's a really important quote because it tells you that as warriors, we're meant to protect others and sacrifice for others and put others first. And that's exactly what our warriors are doing when they serve in the armed forces. All of our warriors are heroes. Native people serve in the armed forces at 5 times the national average. They have the highest per capita involvement of any population to serve in the US military. There are more natives represented in the military than in the general population. That's a lot of natives serving. And there are 31,000 active men and women of Indigenous ancestry that are serving in the US military right now. And of those, 20% are women. That's pretty cool. Of all of the servicemen and women of any nationality that are in the United States military, only 15% are women. But of all the Native people, 20% are women. Our women are warriors, and we're really proud of them. Native people have served in all branches of the military. They've served in all wars since the Revolutionary War. Now, the Revolutionary War was before the United States even existed. It was when they were fighting for independence from Britain, and Native people who were not even a part of that new country that was being formed and were even disrespected by the people who were trying to form this new country. They served in that war on behalf of the Americans. So if you look at the Declaration of Independence, they call Native people merciless Indian savages. Why would Native people want to serve in a war for people who don't respect them and are calling them savages? Well, they wanted to protect this country as much as anybody else because they felt this land belonged to them more than to any other people. And if anyone was going to fight to keep it safe and keep it free, they were going to fight. And that's why they served even in the American Revolutionary War. Native people are proud of their service for this country. They serve in every branch of the military. When I asked my friends and family to send me some pictures of their friends and family who are serving in the military. I got so many pictures back, and I wanted to share some of them with you. All of these people on the screen represent all different tribes all across America. And these are our warriors. They have served in the Marines, they've served in the Air Force, they've served in the Navy, they've served in every branch. And we're really proud of these servicemen and women. Native people have risked their lives as code talkers. This is a really interesting story. The Native people served the US military by sending secret messages during times of war, and they used their traditional languages to send these messages. Now, there were many different nations of Native people who were used as code talkers. A lot of times you hear about the Navajo or the Dene as code talkers, but there were lots of other tribes who did it too. And they didn't get a lot of acknowledgement or respect for what they did. And what they did was really dangerous. They often had to go to really dangerous places and risk their lives sending these messages. But because our languages were so unique and so involved, it was difficult for other people, our enemies in the wars, to kind of figure out what they were saying. So they were really important to use as codes and messages. The thing that makes this such an interesting story is that a lot of our native languages had been outlawed for use by the US government. Native people were actually taught not to use their own traditional languages. It was against the law in some places. In other places, they were sent to schools where they would be get in really big trouble if they would speak in their language, and sometimes even be beaten for using their own language. And it's really sad that they wanted to take our traditional languages from us. But our traditional languages were important, and they were really important and really useful to the US military. And these men and women who served in the armed forces, they were willing to give something that was so precious to them, their traditional languages, and use that to serve the United States military in order to win these wars. So we really want to respect them for risking their lives. And there's a couple of links down below where you can learn more about Native code talkers. And there's some children's books about Native code talkers here that you can check out. Native people also suffered discrimination while they were in the armed forces. This is a picture of my dad, and he served in the US Air Force. And when he was in the military, this was in the 1960s, and he never saw combat. He played basketball the whole time that he was in the service. He would fly from base to base, playing against other teams, and it was meant as entertainment for servicemen and women in the military. And they were a really big deal back then. People could come from all over to these games. Even civilians could come and watch. They'd stick around and try to get autographs from the players after. My dad felt like a little bit of a celebrity. And he spent most of his time in the military stationed in Europe. And while he was there, he traveled all over to lots of different countries. And he had a really great time meeting new people and learning new cultures. And the people welcomed him. They would invite him to their homes and feed him dinner. And he made a lot of new friends all over Europe during his time in the military. And then the United States Air Force changed his station to Florida. And this was in the early 1960s, before the Civil Rights Movement. So before the Civil Rights Movement, down south in the United States, they had laws around segregation. And that meant that they tried to keep brown people and white people separate from each other. And they would make laws that brown people couldn't use a lot of the same things as white people. So there were bathrooms that were for white people only. There were restaurants that were for white people only. There were sites vacation spots and things, parks, things you would want to go and see, all the things that my dad loved to do as a tourist that were for white people only. And when he had to go to Florida, he had to be taught how to travel to Florida and not break any of those segregation laws. They were called Jim Crow laws. And that was to keep him safe, because even though he was a military soldier and he was traveling in uniform, people only noticed the color of his skin. And that meant that he couldn't go certain places and use certain things because he was not white. So when he went to Florida, he really didn't like it there because he couldn't go anywhere or do anything, and he didn't feel safe. And it's really sad that some of our servicemen and women have had to suffer discrimination even while serving in the armed forces. This is a quote by Army senior leaders where they acknowledge those struggles. Throughout our Army's 238-year history, American Indians have served valiantly and with distinction in times of peace and war, while also fighting for the right to be an equal part of our nation. American Indians have a distinguished legacy in our Army. Native people have even become military icons. This famous photograph that's called the Raising of the Flag on Iwo Jima was taken, and this man, Ira Hayes, who is Pima, is one of the people in that picture. And he became a military icon even though he really didn't want to be. And he had a really difficult life after he left the military because he didn't feel like he was a hero, and it caused a lot of problems for his life. But Native people became military icons. There's a book about him called Quiet Hero, the Ira Hayes story, and it's written by S.D. Nelson, who's a member of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. And you can check out this book from the publisher, Lee and Low Books. I left a link where you can get the book. And there's also a teacher's guide where you can learn more about him. And your parents can use that guide to make this story part of your education while you're learning at home. If you like this author and you want to check out more books by him, there's also another link for some more books that he's written. But this is a really important and very special book about this quiet hero and the struggle that he went through. Native people have given their lives while in the military. Lori Piestewa, who is Hopi, she was the first Native woman to die in combat on foreign soil in 2003. And there's more information about her life right here that you can check out. So then, why do Natives serve in the US military? Well, they serve because it's an opportunity. For some, it's a chance to leave home, leave the reservation, to get a job, a good job. A lot of times we live in places where there's not a lot of job opportunities, so the military becomes an important one for us. There's also financial benefits and educational benefits. You can get scholarships and increase your knowledge and be able to use that after your service. But that's not the only reason why Native people choose to serve. They also serve because it's a big part of their family heritage. Many Native people come from generations of people that have served in the U.S. Armed Forces, and they're very proud of that. Their fathers and mothers have served, their grandparents have served, their great-grandparents have served, and their cousins and aunties and uncles. And being a part of the military is just a tradition that they pass on generationally. And young people, when they come of age, are excited to be able to enlist and follow in those footsteps. So there's a proud family heritage of serving in the military. It's also a part of our warrior culture. Native people often came from warrior cultures that were built around a man's role as protecting and providing for your people, and even women, because women could serve as warriors in their communities in some tribes as well. So when you have a warrior culture, it makes sense that you would want to serve in a way that you can still continue to protect and serve in the ways that you did traditionally. And they bring those traditions with them when they join the armed forces. There's a man who's Native. His name is DJ Vanas. And in an interview, he said, people ask, why serve in the military when the government has done so much to our people to hurt our culture? But we've always looked at the bigger picture. This is our home. It always has been and always will be, and we sign up to defend that. The United States, this land, this was Native land before the United States even existed. This was our country. This was our Turtle Island. This is the place of our ancestors. And we have just as much reason to fight and defend it and protect it as anyone else in this country, if not more so. This is an excellent article where they interviewed DJ Vanas and some other servicemen about why they choose to serve. And it's a really great article. I highly recommend that you check it out. So what do we do to honor those who serve? Well, there's lots of things we can do in our traditions. During powwows, we have parades, and the military hold a special part in that parade. We allow our servicemen and women and our veterans a place of honor during those parades, and we recognize them during roll calls. At powwows and other gatherings, we ask for all of the veterans and servicemen and women to stand and identify themselves and let us know where they're here so that we can pay our respects to them for serving for our country. And the drums will play honor songs, special songs to honor them for their service. Families can have specials or giveaways where they're giving things away to community members as a way of celebrating and honoring those who serve in the military that might be in their family. There's special dances for veterans and for servicemen and women that we do to give them good medicine. As we dance, we pray, and we are giving our blessings to those people through our dance. And those are ways that we can honor those servicemen and women. There's also letters that our tribal leaders will give to our veterans and service personnel to honor them for what they are doing while working and serving in the military, and let them know that we are really proud of them as tribal communities for everything that they're doing for this country and how they represent us as tribal people. And we also donate. We make sure that our veterans and that our servicemen and women and families, that they have what they need, that services are available to them, and that they never have to go without. Because when you've done so much and given so much of yourself for your community, you should never have to worry about anything. We should all take care of them and show that we honor the sacrifices that they have made. And you can do some of these things too. And there's a link right here called Operation We Are Here. And it has a lot of great ideas and ways to connect with servicemen and women and veterans to show that you are grateful for all the things they do, and just to send them a letter and make them feel happy and send a care package or find ways that you can get involved. So I challenge you to check that out and see what you can do. And if you do something, send me an email and let me see what you've done. So I also have a game for you guys, and this is a stalking game. And I've included all of the directions here for you to follow. It's a really fun game that teaches skills that are important when you are a warrior. Now, warriors can also be hunters. They're providers for our community. So they have to learn skills around paying attention to sounds around them, being aware, and also being very quiet and being able to approach their prey and to stalk out and get through places without making noise and without getting caught. All of those skills are really important if you are in the military. When you're in danger, you have to know how to get out of danger without anybody hearing you. And so these are important skills. So when Native children are growing up, they would play games that would help them to learn these kind of skills that they would need when they became older and when they became hunters and warriors for their community. Then they would already have a lot of those skills because they had worked on them and developed them while growing up. So you can do that too through this stalking game. And there's a few ways that you can play. You can play with 2 people, you can play with a group of people, or if you don't have anyone to play with, try stalking an animal in your neighborhood. Maybe it's your cat or your dog. Maybe it's a squirrel or a bird. See how close you can get to that animal without them hearing you. Some tips for stalking your prey is to approach in a straight line. And if your prey looks up, stop and don't move wherever you are. You don't want to make any more noise because you don't want them to be able to figure out where you're coming from. Lift your legs just high enough to get over any obstacles. The closer you keep your feet to the ground, the easier it is to move forward quietly. You want to step with your toe first and then rock back down onto your heel as quietly as you can. So when you're stalking, you don't move fast. You want to move slowly and quietly, especially the closer you get to your prey. And don't try to concentrate too hard. What you want to concentrate on is your breathing and your balance. If you are controlling your breathing and letting it be as quiet as possible, and if you are focusing on your balance and you calm your mind, you're going to do a lot better at stalking your prey. And in this game, you're going to stalk your prey, who is one of the players. They will stand in the middle of a circle blindfolded, and those outside the circle have to try to stalk in and get to that prey first. So all the directions are here if you want to try it. If you have any questions or want some more clarification, just send me an email. I have some video of my kids playing this game that I can share with you. So I hope you give it a try. It's really a fun thing to do. And lastly, I have some resources that you can check out. There's some more books about veterans that are part of children's literature, all about Native people as veterans. There's some videos that you can check out. And there's some more information, especially for older kids, to learn more about Natives and their service in the military. So I challenge you to check it out and learn as much as you can. Am I back? So I hope that you enjoyed this Children's Hour, and I hope that you'll take the time to think about all of the men and women that serve in the military, that are there doing their part to protect us, sometimes being really far from home and from their families, and just take some time to think about them and offer a word of thanks for them. Maybe send up some prayers to kind of give some blessings to them. Anything that you can think of, anything that you do, please send me an email and let me know. And any messages that you might have for Native men and women who are servicemen or Native veterans, if you want to give them a special message and let them know how thankful you are for their service, send me a video or send me a picture, and I'll share that on our social media this week so that they can hear those messages from you. So I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you come back next week for a new program, and have a great week.